Wadsworth Media, back at y'all for another round. And did y'all see Ryan Garcia air out Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins? That was hilarious, man. A lot of this stuff, you know, some people are confused where's this coming from, and how it all started. Me publicly, their separation, their divide started when Oscar De La Hoya had an interview on ESPN. This is years back, about 5-6 years ago, when the Ryan Garcia hype started. And they asked Oscar De La Hoya, is Ryan Garcia the next big thing in boxing? And Oscar simply said no. The next big thing is going to be Virgil Ortiz. That clearly didn't sit well with Ryan Garcia, and all things came to a head during the press conference after Ryan Garcia lost to Tank Davis. Ryan Garcia was left alone on that podium. Nobody from Golden Boy came. Oscar De La Hoya wasn't there. Bernard Hopkins wasn't there. Neither was his trainer, Joe Goosen, who he ended up firing. Nobody was there. They left him by himself. So things really got really bad between Golden Boy and Ryan. Ryan ended up asking out of his contract. They denied him. So here we are today, and Ryan Garcia airs them out, you know. He says they try to line him up against Duno, and he ends up knocking out Duno. He said they're doing the same thing again, putting him up against another knockout artist, and he said he's going to be successful again today, even though they're trying to undermine him. So, you know, that type of talk. But I think the funniest thing was when he aired out Bernard Hopkins, because he was right, man. He's right. Like, you've heard me say in the past, racism is one of the ugliest things in the world. It has no place in the world, especially in the world of sports. So Bernard Hopkins is quoted years back when he was still fighting that, and I quote, he would never lose to a white boy. Ryan Garcia held that receipt, and he said, man, Bernard Hopkins, you can't tell me when to stop fighting. You can't tell me to retire. In fact, you're a liar. Ain't you the same guy that said you'll never lose to a white boy, and you ended up getting knocked out by Joe Smith? Last time I checked, Joe Smith was white. That was funny. That was hilarious. So yeah, good for you, Ryan. Good clap back at him. But anyway, off to tonight's action. In ring tonight, you have a very live dog in Oscar Duarte. Oscar Duarte is a very aggressive fighter. He has a good knockout percentage. Out of like 26 fights, he's got 21 knockouts with only one defeat. This is not an easy fight. I know the name may not be familiar, but this guy can crack. He can punch. And as for Ryan Garcia, what I'm looking to see is if he's going to implement the new skill set, the new technique given to him by Derrick James. Derrick James fighters, you see like in Errol Spence and Jamel Charlo, for example, these guys, they like to circle and pump their jab as they're circling and pivoting. They don't like to stand in the center line and come straight out. They like to pivot, circle it with their jab, with their 1-2. I want to see if Ryan Garcia does that, because Ryan Garcia, as we know in the past, he likes to stand erect with his chin out, and he leaves his chin out as he's throwing punches, and he brings his hands back down to his waist instead of bringing his hands up. You notice with And again, with Derrick James fighters, they circle pivot a lot. Also, if you've been following some of Ryan Garcia's videos he's posted up since being with Derrick James, you've noticed he's doing something very different, which is he's actually keeping his hands up. He's actually throwing punches and bringing his hands right back to his chin. So this is very important. If he's able to implement that, that will be a big difference in Ryan Garcia's game, because that's how he went down the first time against Tank. Leaving his hands out, chin out first, and then leaving his hands down as he throws a punch. He got caught with a counter. So if he could keep his hands up, because you saw even like when he used to hit the bags back in the day before Derrick James, you noticed that he would keep his hands up. Keep his hands down. Now under Derrick James, you're starting to see that he's been keeping his hands up. Even as he's hitting the bag, he's keeping his hands up. So if he can utilize these techniques, we can see a new and improved Ryan Garcia, which will be very good for the sport of boxing, because he's a big draw and we can get big name fights, you know. Especially like I alluded to in my last video, especially coming off the heels of, some people say Haney won controversially. People are talking bad about Shakur Stevenson's last performance. If he has a lights out performance tonight against Duarte, this will catapult his name once again, and this will put pressure on him to have to now take some of these big fights against Shakur's, against your Devin Haney's, against your Teofimo Lopez, and so on and so forth. So I'm hoping and looking for a better version of Ryan Garcia tonight. My prediction, I think we're going to see Ryan Garcia utilizing a lot of these techniques that was given to him by Derrick James. Derrick James prides himself in being a teacher, not just a coach, not just a trainer, but a teacher. So as a teacher, that means he's very interested, very invested in getting your mind to buying in to what he's teaching you. So if he could get Ryan Garcia to buy into it, to actually listen and utilize these new techniques, we can see a new, improved, refined version of Ryan Garcia. So I'm hyped to see this fight tonight. I'm hyped to see the new version of Ryan Garcia, if we're gonna get a new version, and if he can survive an onslaught coming his way, because if Duarte fights in a tactical, aggressive manner, not just like asserting pressure, but tactically, like walking him down with the jab and waiting to see if some of those old bad habits of Ryan reemerge, like throwing a punch and putting his hands down, he can crack him with a counter, and that will be devastating. So we'll find out tonight what happens. Drop some bars on the comment section. Let me know who you think is going to win. I'm Waz for Waz Words Media. Peace.